Hello, welcome to Star Wars, A History of the Force. My name is Dr. Joshua Wood. I'm head of Old Republic Studies at the University of Coruscant. Here is my associate, Dr. Michael Werner, Chief Anthropologist at the Empirical Society. It is good to see that everybody came to class wearing their hero's attire, or such therefore. I can tell this is going to be a fun time. So, the Force. What is it exactly? What isn't it? What is it? The first recorded recorded Force users, we can trace back to about the year 36,453 BBY. Now we use BBY as the battle before the Battle of Yavin, where the Empire was soundly destroyed. For now. So, the first real organized Force users were known as the Jedi. We can trace their history is sadly very murky, with it being so long ago. The first Force users, sorry everybody, I'm really now. The first Force users were brought to the planet AkaiCon by large spherical ships known as the Thor-Yor. Now the planet AkaiCon was located somewhere in the deep core world. The Thor-Yor brought actual Force sensitives onto the ship in order to bring them to AkaiCon. We do not know who built them, why they were built, how they gathered Force users at all. It's a complete mystery. Okay, cool. The Thor, they brought philosophers, mercenaries, soldiers of all shapes, all sizes, all races. And all of them had one thing in common. Each of them were Force sensitive to a degree. So, the Jedi bringing themselves together to this new planet, and these are our oldest pictographs of the Thor-Yor, bringing them to AkaiCon. The Jedi were a wonderful society. They did not exactly study the Force as we know it into light and dark. They studied it as a whole, usually basing their facts on basis of light and dark by AkaiCon's two moons, Bendo and Oa. So, they were primarily a very peaceful society. No great attack ever happened. They were never threatened. They weren't even bothered with because they were so deep. They merely focused on the Force. So, to get more into their first recorded real conflict was the first schism. But before we get into that, we need to get into the weapons of the conflict. I turn it over to my associate, Dr. Michael Werner.
Hi.
Doctor.
Yeah. So, let us talk about the weapons of the Jedi, which have become the weapons of the Jedi and of the Sith. Primarily, before the invention of things like this, not that, this, there we go. We had, I can either go forward or I can go backwards. Shall we start from the beginning, or from the end and work back?
Well, let's go from the beginning to the end.
Okay. The very first weapons were very primitive. They were traditionally an alloyed blade, much like what you would assume medieval knights would be wearing and using. They were also imbued directly with the energy of the Force. They were strong, they were nigh unbreakable at the time, but they wanted to be better, and that became what was known as the Force Saber. Instead of being a weapon infused with energy and a cell and technology, it was literally a conduit for the Force. It pushed pure energy out through it inherently not light or dark. However, Force sabers tended to draw out the dark. No one really understood why. Speculation is that it is the carnal nature of combat that draws out rage and draws out anger and, again, the dark. Those over time, it became to the point where people where the Jedi and the Jedi, as things progressed, the Force itself was too hard to contain in a blade. So they instead started working through technological means and developed what were called the proto-saber. The proto-saber used energy and a power cell and a power pack to actually contain the blade and all of its energy. The Force was still needed to help contain its effectiveness, and you still needed to be able to be somewhat effective with the Force in order to use it, but it wasn't as draining on the body, so to speak. And then, of course, over the time, the progression came up where this had its own inherent weaknesses. That cord could be severed, and then you have a hunk of metal in one hand and a battery pack with a live wire on the end.
And the other biggest problem with the proto-saber was it did not allow true finesse. You were restricted by at least, what, a 3 to 4 foot cord, Doctor?
About a yard to sometimes a yard and a half, depending on the reach of the person. But it was never meant to be away from the body. Then going into that, yes. After that, the technology was refined. The battery cells were implanted directly into the blade, or into the hilt, and we have the first actual lightsabers, one of which is the dark saber. And I will say, since this saber, being as ancient as it is, the technology itself declines. There is nothing like this sword, ever.
And Doctor, isn't it true that the Sith actually were the progenitors of the lightsaber as we know it today?
Yes, actually. The dark side, the original Sith were the reasons that lightsabers came to be what they are. And literally the Jedi had to just keep up. It was very, very interesting to see how that worked. But of course you get to the modern lightsaber as it stands. As you can see, you have focusing crystals, a power cell, which was so finely refined that if it wasn't properly contained, you have a very high-grade explosive here if you do it wrong. There have been reports of people assembling them incorrectly and activating them for them to just explode, which was always fun to hear about. But yeah, this is the gut of a lightsaber. I won't show you personally. Just trust me.
Now, around the year 25,800, we have what is formally recorded as the First Great Schism, the true emergence of the dark side of the Force. A Jedi by the name of Dagan Locke saw in a prophecy a great warrior wielding a flaming sword coming to destroy the Jedi and set the galaxy ablaze as a whole. He rudimentarily believed when he told the Jedi Council that this great evil could be stopped. The Jedi did not believe him. They thought he had focused far too much into the darker aspects of the Force and sent him into exile to meditate, to expunge himself of this. But he became wholly convinced. He even became further convinced that he was the one in the prophecy. Self-fulfilling prophecy. We see this quite a bit in Jedi prophecies, where larger groups did not believe a greater prophecy as a whole, and it came back on them horribly.
To be fair, that side of the Force, all of the light side of the Force tends to be a bit prophetic and, predicting their own falls.
That is very true, Doctor. Now, Dagan Locke believed that the dark side needed to be used in order to battle this great oncoming darkness. Now, the Great Schism lasted only 10 years. This was a period known as the Force Wars. During this, Dagon Locke gathered his followers to him who believed that this great evil was coming. Unfortunately, it was Dagon Locke. It nearly destroyed the Jedi Order and almost burned Tython to the ground. Unfortunately, Tython was planted. Yeah. We well know this. During this time, new Force techniques were learned and unfortunate secrets were also found. At the end of this conflict, Tython was actually rendered inhospitable. A star had actually gone supernova during this conflict through the use of the Force and had actually burned the surface. Dagon Locke and the rest, at the end of the conflict, those remaining who were still living were exiled out of Tython forever. Those Jedi eventually found a planet near the outer rim known as Korriban, and a peculiar species known as the Sith, where they began to breed and intermingle with them, and forming the group that we now know today as the Sith.
Which, side note, I'm going to go ahead and say this. I don't want to sound specious and everything, but I don't know if you've ever seen an actual Sith. I don't know how they did it.
Yeah, they were kind of ugly.
They were gross. Space tentacle things or whatever that was. No. I guess I'm curious.
Can you talk about the sorcery part of how they learned all the sorcery stuff and then put that into their teaching?
How they mixed the Force with
their
Sith spells?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun time. A lot of the dark side abilities, like Force lightning, and honestly, that level of telekinesis that you actually develop a Force choke, all came from decades and decades and generations of mixing the science of the Force and I don't even know if I would call it magic. They considered it magic because honestly they didn't know what they had. They didn't know their inherent ability with the Force as it was. So.
And unfortunately, after the Force Wars happened, as I said, Tython was rendered completely inhospitable. The new Jedi Order was moved off to Ossus, a planet a few light years away. Got a little note in here. Well, during this, the Jedi were very broken. Afterwards, the Jedi were actually, they redubbed themselves the Jedi. And now, during their time on Tython, anybody, as long as you were Force sensitive, you could just get in automatically. They started limiting the rules on how that happened. They gathered, at first they gathered any Force sensitive they could find, but soon started training them better, so then they didn't focus on the more darker aspects as their brother Dagon Locke did.
And then they basically became a glorified bunch of Boy Scouts.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious what book you use. Oh, nice. We're talking about my favorite war. Okay, so in the year, I never get the year right. 3958 was when it happened. Was when it started. Prior to this, we have an event that happened called the Mandalorian Wars. The planet of Mandalore, as we all know, wonderful warriors, brutal warriors. I look up to them, but at the same time, would not want to get into a bar fight with any of them.
Who were easily influenced by dark side users.
We have to deal with Mandalore the Ultimate and all that stuff, but we're going to skip that and talk about one of my favorite people.
Yeah.
This is the face of the man who destroyed Mandalore the Ultimate and ended the Mandalorian Wars. And I say this is his face because we don't really know what was under here. He wore this a lot. I will say this is a reproduction. It is not the original because, good God, that's expensive. Anyway, so we're going to talk about Revan. Woo! Thank you. I love it. All right. And we're going to talk about what happened after the war on Mandalore and the Mandalorian Wars as they were. Revan and his counterpart, I would say apprentice, but that wasn't necessarily the case. They were relatively equal at the time, Malik, both disappeared. And they disappeared on the notion that Revan had seen the reemergence of the dark side, of the Sith, and what they were going to be. And he sought to take him and Malik and the few people he could get to go with him to try and stop it before it began.
Now, mind you, during this time, the Republic and the Jedi truly believed we had a war before this, that we believed the Sith were gone. They just disappeared.
And you tried. Anyway, so what happened was that Revan and Malik disappeared for about 8-10 years and came back not as everybody expected. Revan and Malik actually came back leading the Sith Empire. And this is when we have what's known as the Revan Kiss. And they decided they were going to lay waste to a lot of people. And then at the height of their invasion, Malik betrayed Revan. He destroyed Revan's ship. Yes, we have Revan and Malik. Is this before?
Yep, that's
This
before.
Before Malik got a nice new lower jaw. And Revan lost his memory. His wonderful tale is one that has been told many times over. He is one of the few who was of the light side, fell to the dark, reclaimed himself in the light, and kind of flip-flopped back and forth for a while. Even after dying, he came back. He was so vengeful that he came back as two separate entities. There was the dark side of him that was still controlled by, at the time, the Sith Emperor, and the light side of him, which was navigating his daughter to deal with him? I don't remember. Sadil is her own story in its own right. That's a story for another day. But we have to deal with the fact that after Revan was betrayed, he was injured. They recovered him. He had no memory of who he was. He was retrained by Bastille Shan, Christine's mother.
Pictured there, pictured there, second from the left in the red, with the yellow double-bladed lightsaber.
Yes, that is Bastille Shan. She was pivotal to the entire war as it stood. She had a great ability of her own called battle meditation. And it seems very... If I explain it to you, you're going to think it's weird. She had the universal ability to make everybody that she wanted to win. It's like the ultimate go team go, if that makes sense. Like, she was very skilled in her own right, but her ability to inspire her allies through the Force was unparalleled. She was... there was a large battle. There was a ship called the Endor Spire that was attacked. The ship was destroyed. They were marooned on the planet. She was taken in by a criminal gang who sought to use her to gain leverage with the Sith. They reclaimed her. They took her back to the Jedi planet, where in which they decided to train Revan again. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody knew why he was adept like he was, but he picked it up immediately. He was one of the oldest people ever brought in and trained, technically retrained. And then long story short, they went back and fought and returned and defeated Malak.
And wasn't he using a Sith weapon? A super weapon?
Yes. Well, it wasn't. It was the Star Forge. If you've ever seen pictures of Revan in his armor, and I mean not the suit I'm wearing, his actual armor, that armor came from the Star Forge. That is that wonderful implement you see on the far left. His armor that came from it in the middle here. And Revan was one of the strange instances of, he had a particular lightsaber whenever he started as a Jedi. When he turned to the dark side, it went with him. After he was betrayed by Malak, he lost his first saber and rebuilt the spiky one as his new one, which honestly looked more Sith than the first one. And there are images you will see of him wielding two lightsabers. One of them red and the other one purple. Revan's crystal in his saber changed with him. And as he came back from the dark side, that red saber, it changed with him. He never truly lost the darkness. So that red saber regained some of its former color and shine, but it became this beautiful purple. And he was one of the first names. Everybody thinks Mace Windu was the first purple lightsaber, and I can just say, y'all can take that and fuck it.
I got one right here.
Hey, how you doing? So, we have spoken of the Jedi Civil War. Let's see if we have. This also shows you have the markings of the Sith Empire, which also was the symbol of the Revan Kiss, specifically.
And the Revan Kiss were what? The group of Jedi who joined Revan during his
initial assault. Yes, they were the Sith and Grey Jedi, so to speak, that saw him as the change needed to happen within the Jedi. In the way of actually making the Jedi and the Sith something better.
During this time, the Jedi had a very isolationist view on the galaxy as a whole. They did not need to get involved in the affairs of the Empire in the affairs of the Republic as long as it didn't bother them directly.
Think less Boy Scouts and more
Shaolin monks.
Yeah, there we go. That'll work. That'll do. But also in here, you also have, as it shows on this list, on the left you see all of the battles that took place during the Jedi Civil War, all the locations that had happened. It took a massive amount of space to contain all of this. Which, side note, what happens to all the laser shots that miss?
I think they keep going.
Infinitely, actually. They will keep going until they hit something. Can you imagine just being on a random planet and next thing you know, your best friend has been vaporized by a ship blast?
From, like, the Jedi Civil War.
Yes! Light years away.
That actually happened to a friend of mine. His brand new speeder. Boom!
Did he believe in God?
He believed in the Force at that moment.
Did he believe in God's saying?
Maybe.
Because someone got smoked. Anyway, sorry, tangent. Now you have in the middle again, you have the Revan Kiss, you have the Jedi, but you also have the Galactic Republic. The Galactic Republic was kind of, I hate to say it, drawn into the Civil War between the Jedi and the Revan Kiss. Because the Jedi and the Republic worked so closely together, and that's always been a thing for some reason. Since the formation of the Galactic Republic, when the Jedi became known as what they were, the Republic was like, hey, we need to get you over here. Because a good ally is better than a good enemy.
At first, when the Republic first met the Jedi on Ossus, they initially told them, bend the knee or we'll blow up your planet.
And they were all Jon Snow, and like, no, I'm not.
They actually sent a Jedi Master. It took about 7 days of negotiation to fully integrate, but by the end of it, the Republic fully agreed to allow the Jedi to continue their studies and their teaching with the full military might of the Republic backing them.
Yeah.
Now, fun thing I do want to point out here, The sign of the Republic right there in the center is actually the original symbol of the Jedi. Let me go back a bit.
That's the one that's on the news, the will stuff.
Yep, right there.
Yeah.
It's really interesting how it all just kind of tangents together, one to the other, to the other, to the other.
And also loops back around.
Yeah, because that's also the symbol of the Galactic Republic got morphed into the symbol of the Imperial, or of the Empire.
And it could be also said that
And the First Order.
that even Dagon Lock. It's even theorized by some of my Jedi friends.
You have friends?
Yeah. How do you think I get this information?
Google.
But it has been theorized that the prophecy of the flaming sword burning the galaxy as a whole could actually be looped back to Darth Vader.
That makes sense.
Hi, guys.
Nerd.
I thought that was the lightsaber.
It was the lightsaber.
Now,
Well, also we're on even ground, so I'm good.
after the Great Jedi Civil War, at the end of 3600 BBY, the Republic as a whole experienced a 1600-year peace until about the year 2000. A Jedi master by the name of Phineas, he was tired of the teachings of the Jedi. So, he believed that he needed to reform them and build a new order based around him. Renaming himself Darth Ruin, he reformed a new Sith empire that sadly was very, very short-lived. Unfortunately, Darth Ruin wanted power only for himself. No one other than him shall have power. His apprentices killed him fairly swiftly, obviously. He was only in power for less than a century. But from this, it caused a flourishing of the Sith not seen. Darth Ruin caused the fourth great schism and also the new Sith Wars.
The Sith Civil War.
Would you like to remark upon
No, you got this one.
that? Okay.
I'll chime in if I hear you say something wrong.
Yes. During this, a lot of the Jedi saw that the Order's lack of action on these new Sith was actually very wrong. That the Sith should be eliminated completely. They soon started leaving and forming their own cults in order to destroy the Jedi, these new Sith, but ended up turning to the dark side themselves and declaring formal war again towards the New Republic and the Jedi. Well, during this, the Jedi went a long-standing this ain't our problem, we ain't going to worry about it, we're going to stay in our nice temple on Coruscant, and that's about it. Good luck out there.
Wait. How did we forget Nihilus?
Oh, yes, Darth Nihilus.
The man who ate planets because he was bored.
During this time, we also encountered a new Sith Lord by the name of Darth Nihilus, who actually managed to nearly destroy the Jedi completely. Darth Nihilus' dark side powers, as my compatriot explained here,
Darth Nihilus was the dark side of the Force embodied. He was what was known as a rift in the Force. He was a consumer, and that was his thing. He was the first Sith to ever truly use the Force to not kill, but to take life into himself. You never saw who was under the mask with Nihilus either, not because he chose to hide his face for political reasons or whatever reasons that Revan had for him. If you took Nihilus's mask off, you wouldn't see a body. He was alive and so powerful in the Force that it consumed his physical being. He was literally an entity of the Force, and as what was her name? Darth Traya first remarked, he was, if you looked at the Force as a great light in the darkness, Nihilus was that dark spot deep in the center that was sucking it all in, like a black hole in the center of the galaxy.
Now, he was eventually defeated by an unnamed Jedi and her closest friend, who then reformed the Jedi Council, following that 1600 years of peace until dark ruin. Now, the new Sith immediately began attacking the Jedi in full force.
Because why not?
Well, the Jedi,
what we learned.
The Jedi tiring of this, Jedi lords appeared. During this time, Jedi actually founded their own planet in a sort of feudal lordship with their own armies, currency, and such. One of these pictures here is Lord Hoth. It's okay. They began fighting back against these new Sith, and in the year 10,010, the Jedi, in a propaganda move, moved up a Jedi by the name of Shere Khan to master. Shere Khan had actually the same abilities as the former Bastila Shan of battle meditation, but he was also in the camp of the Jedi do not do enough. This isolationist policy does not work.
To be fair, that happened a lot. That's kind of why Revan became what he was.
And it could also be formally argued, and I'd even argue that myself, that the Jedi's isolation policy is the thing that really led to the rise of the dark side.
That's fair.
And also drawing in our Republic into their petty squabbles with the Sith. So, Shere Khan then made a new Jedi Order, known as the Brotherhood of Darkness. It was a mock parody of the Jedi Council, including 7 masters that would oversee it, but still following a one step above all.
And we know how that generally goes.
Pictured here is actually the Army of Light, a massive army formed by 7 Jedi Lords to battle Shere Khan and his brand new Brotherhood of Darkness. Well, our pictographs are sadly corrupted due to a certain emperor declaring them that they weren't.
He's dead now.
True.
Just keep it straight.
Well, during this time, Lord Hoth took his massive army of light on a series of hit-and-run tactics against Shere Khan in order to build up their battle readiness against it, and finally accumulating into the 7 battles of Rusan. And also here pictured is the standard of the Brotherhood of Light, well, the Army of Light. And here is a pictograph of the Battle of Rusan. The Battle of Rusan was an actual massive 7 battles between the Brotherhood of Darkness and the Army of Light, with it nearly actually wiping out both sides nearly completely. During the 7th battle, Shere Khan soon started receiving Force visions. He soon started being taken over by the dark side itself. And in a moment of complete and utter madness, activated an ancient Sith ability called the Thought Bomb. I will turn over to my picture to explain what that is.
So what now?
The Thought Bomb.
I don't remember that.
Okay.
I don't remember that.
According to our records, the Thought Bomb was a massive coalition of dark side energies compressed into a single point. When exploded, would kill anything that even had a connection to the Force. It would rip it right out of you, much like Darth Nihilus did when he was still alive.
That I remember. Here we go.
Pictured also here is
I thought you said something else.
thought bomb.
Thought, like a thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
And pictured also here is Lord Hoth going to meet with Shere Khan to finally deal with him once and for all. Sadly, the thought bomb backfired.
Yep.
It not only killed Shere Khan, it also killed Lord Hoth and many of the Jedi Lords and the surviving Army of Light and the Brotherhood of Darkness, thus bringing actual end to the Sith as we know it.
Ironically, yes.
Well, I was about to ask, his name is Lord Hoth. Does that have any connection with the Ice Planet Hoth, or is that completely...
Sadly, our records are corrupted on that one.
I want to say the planet came first.
Yeah.
I want to say that.
Okay.
Ironically, though, the details on that wonderful thought bomb that was created came back well before any of the things that we've actually talked about so far. It actually dates back to the era of the Jedi, and information about that was actually found by Revan. He kept all of his information in a holocron, and whenever he was what is the thing? There's a word that just came to my mind. There's a whole. He had a whole repository of information from the things he had learned through his teachings as a Jedi and a Sith. But it also contained. There was actually a ritual that used the thought, or that it was used for. And all of that was contained in his holocron that was kept and stored in a temple in the planet Lehon, discovered in the year 1000 by Darth Bane.
Yep. Now, I'll leave this to my compatriot who was Darth Bane? I know he was there on the Battle of Rusan. He was actually one of the ones, I believe, who convinced Shere Khan to use such a dangerous...
It's funny, we're already on his picture.
Yeah, I skipped ahead to him.
Thank you. So, Darth Bane was one of the, I will say this, one of the greatest lords of the Sith. He is the founder of what most people know, thanks to our dear and darling dead Emperor, as the rule of two.
One, a master to hold power,
and an apprentice to take it. Eventually.
As explained by Master Yoda, with the Sith, there is only one master, one apprentice. Darth Bane enforced this rule through the teachings of Revan he found in the holocron.
As you can see here, this is actually his apprentice on the right, who did, as per usual, kill him eventually.
The belief of the rule of two was a master to be supremely powerful, but an apprentice to be even more powerful than the master by slaying him, thus propagating a cycle of more and more powerful Sith. Under the original rules, as stated, it was one Sith above all, with smaller lords continuing the process, but the power was spread too thin. Darth Bane sought to remedy this with the rule of two.
Side note, Darth Bane's lightsaber was a curved lightsaber. I wish I had it. I wish I had a picture of it. I forgot to grab one. He received his lightsaber. It was one of the few that was actually passed down through generations. He received it from his master, and it was, as described, effectively weightless. As you can, with one like this, you can tell all of the weight rests in the hilt, because of course energy doesn't have mass to that degree. But it looked large, it looked bulky, but you couldn't tell that there was anything in it. It honestly resembled a force saber in terms of its lightness and speed and efficiency. Sorry, I tangented because lightsabers are kind of my thing.
But also on the Republic side, after the Battle of Rusan, we had the Rusan Reformation. Here we have a picture of Ola Rusan. Under his new rules, the Republic would disband its entire army, its navy. The Jedi would be moved permanently to Coruscant because
during this time they had numerous holdings throughout the galaxy, from Osis, well, pretty much all over the place, but they mainly focused into Coruscant. And also under this, they changed the rules of who could be a Jedi. Before, as stated, the Jedi just took anyone with Force-sensitive abilities and tried to turn them into Jedi. This was a problem, especially with adults, because they had a tendency to always delve into the dark side. So they changed it to children no older than 8. So then they could properly mold them and turn them away from the darker influences.
Do we want to talk about Cordis?
Cordis.
The fight between Cordis and Bane?
Well, we have
17 minutes.
Yeah, we can talk a bit about that, and then we'll take questions.
Yeah, they threw that rule out with me. See what happened.
Well, to be fair, the Emperor was kind of, I'm not going to say what came to mind, I said PG-13.
Yep.
Okay, so a key part of that wonderful battle that we've been talking about, the thing that helped lead everything to what it was, we have, what was his first name? Where was Cordis' first name? Cordis was not a Sith. This was actually somebody who fought against Bane. The issue was he was working to try and help Bane at some point, and then he betrayed him, and then they went back and forth for a while. Cordis' response was to ask Bane to allow him to try and win his life or die in lightsaber combat. Bane's response was to choke him to death. And laughing and mocking him the entire time.
Was it foreshadowing, or did he physically
grab
his
he
hand?
physically put his hand on his throat and popped him. Let's see here. Talking about...
Very strange to hear a Sith or even a Jedi actually use their hands.
He didn't mind getting dirty. The end of the Rasan campaign is where he picked up his actual apprentice on it. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I did not.
Yep. He trained her exceptionally well in, of course, all forms of saber combat. She ended up picking a double-edged saber, or double-bladed saber, and tried to kill him numerous times.
I believe it was poisoning the first time.
He tried to crash a ship on him once. She tried to crash a ship with him in it once. And then, of course, there were many, many times where she just literally just tried to take it off. That armor. Anyways, so there are other combats. There's other fights that occurred after this that got us to the point where we were with you. And all of that. But we could find more, could go through deeper, but we didn't want to keep you guys here for 3 hours.
Literally, our research, we really wanted to do it, we would be here for about 3-4 hours.
He has 15 pages. Really quickly, there have been instances of light side users, of Jedi, using dark side abilities to some degree. The concept with it is that the Jedi temper themselves away from the dark and see using the abilities of the dark side as almost sacrilegious. But do I think that lack of restriction makes the Sith stronger? Absolutely. Would you like to counterpoint, or would you like to?
I would like to add to that. The Sith themselves mainly focused more on combat ability.
Jedi wanted to protect, Sith wanted to take and destroy. And going back all the way to the original Jedi, the Jedi did not really see a good nor bad. It was just the Force. You just never really delved into one part too much. We found numerous records of Jedi apprentices and even masters following too much into the light side, and they were exiled
to the yes, the
Keep going.
it's in there.
Almost there.
Back at the beginning,
Off to the red moon to focus more into the dark side. The Jedi actually want to seek a balance completely in the Force.
they were like Grey Jedi, except nicer.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, it's not to ask, how far back is or figure jumping back and forth in interpretations, how deep is the history of the Grey Jedi, or is it kind of like?
The Great Jedi were, they appeared now and again, every once in a while in the past. Darth Revan was a great example of a Grey Jedi.
Yes, he, as a Jedi, he was very much a Grey Jedi. He was very much of the, I want to do what I can, I may have to do more, I will do what is necessary, not just to protect, but to, not just protect, but actually defeat the enemy, by whatever means necessary. He dabbled in the dark very early on, before he even became a Sith. He disobeyed the council, the Mandalorian Wars. They did not want to get involved, and he said, "Sorry, bro.
Screw you."
Sorry, bro. I'm gonna do it."
There was a major pivotal battle that caused him to. Wasn't there a battle where the Mandalorians actually attacked Jedi and slaughtered them indiscriminately?
Not just Jedi,
And also
civilians. That's where the mask came from. The mask that Revan wore was actually the mask of a Mandalorian female warrior who died in battle. And he decided that he would wear that mask in remembrance, so to speak, to show that his fight, him fighting in the Mandalorian Wars, everything he was trying to do, he wasn't doing for himself. He wasn't trying to do it under glory or becoming a great hero or anything like that. He was becoming that in order to show that this can't stand, that the people are going to survive.
And I'm sorry we keep circling back to Revan, but
It's kind of important.
yes, Darth Revan, even by Republic standards, was one of the greatest forces of change among both Sith and Jedi.
Let me put it this way. Despite everything that happened, becoming, being a Jedi, falling to the Sith, redeeming himself, going back, becoming contained by the Emperor as a prisoner for 300 years, and having both the dark side of himself and the light side of himself as two separate entities, he is still both revered and honored by Jedi and Sith alike. His teachings and everything he learned and everything he knew, every bit of wisdom he ever imparted, was essentially gray. It applied to everyone. Anyone could take it and anyone could learn something from it.
Darth Bane especially, that's where he got his inspiration for the rule of two. Revan deeply believed that the one Sith above all does not work. He truly believed that only a master and apprentice should work for the Sith. Otherwise, the power is spread too thinly among them. And back in the earliest days of the Sith, only the Sith Lord was ever named Darth anything. Revan and Malik were actually a very rare in the early days of the Sith to actually be called Darth Revan and Darth Malik. Bane completely changed that, and that's why we have now in our records instances of, with the fallen Anakin Skywalker, of Darth Sidious, Darth Vader, Darth Tyrannus.
Also, Revan was one that when he became a Sith, he didn't take a new name. The only reason, if you look in the records, the only reason his name was ever anything else was during the time that he had lost his memory. He was given a name. in the time that it happened. Whenever they realized who he was, they didn't continue calling him by his name that he had taken. They called him Reverend. He was always Reverend.
To call him anything else is just an insult.
Pretty much. Anyway,
We've got
2 minutes.
yes. Well, any other questions, or did we hit everything pretty well?
Or did we just
Yeah.
When did you guys first start college?
I started somewhere around Luke's new Jedi Academy. I applied to be an archivist, but sadly, my skills weren't needed. They were already filled up, and I found my way better teaching than anything.
I've been doing this a little while. Not too long. I come and go.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
So, in the case of Revan, did he take the name Darth, or was it a title put on him by others? Because he would see himself as the good guy in all cases, or most.
Except
Well,
in the
keep
case
in mind-
when he was actually, he was broken by the Sith Emperor. The Sith Emperor was an unbelievably powerful dark side user.
Again, to the fact that after all this happened, after he regained his memory, went back and defeated Malik, and then remembered that, hey, the Emperor's still there, and went back to try and finish him, he was then captured again and held for 3 centuries. He took the name Darth from the Emperor. It was given to him as the leader of the Sith army. That was where that came from. He didn't take it for himself. It was bestowed upon him. All right.
Yes. And final word. The history of the Force is a very long, complicated, painful affair. But what we hope you gain from this is, as you can see, the Republic as a whole usually was an unwilling participant in any conflict caused by the Jedi and the Sith. As Luke Skywalker has mentioned in the upcoming film, No More Sith and No More Jedi, I at least truly believe, in my educated opinion, that Luke wants to break away from this and go back into the ways of the Jedi.
I don't go further. He's been studying the will.
The history of the Force, as I said, is incredibly long. It is wrought with conflict, heroism, triumph, and all around a need for power, either through the Sith or through the Jedi. So, I hope you take away from this panel, whatever you choose, choose the right one, and
May the Force
be with you.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.